Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Longbox Guys. My name is Tom Strange, and with me, as always, is some of my very favorite people on this green, beautiful planet that we call home. Tom B, how you doing and what you drinking?
I'm doing okay. I'm drinking some R Stone Scotch, and it is delicious. How are you doing tonight, Tommy? What are you drinking?
I'm doing great tonight. I'm going old school. I got a Cuba Libre, little rum and coke for me. Delicious. I don't know why I don't drink more of those. I love soda so much. I should drink more Cuba Libres. Josh, loving the outfit. Got that
Nice.
Ewok 5 going. Very nice. What are you drinking? That looks like a very fancy beer.
I'm drinking a Trois Pistoles, a Belgian-style beer from Canada. It's
Yeah.
very nice.
So, like, I'm not perfect in the translation. That means 3 penises.
3 pistols. Pistol
Sa-
Pete.
Same thing. Mike, you beautiful, beautiful bastard. What are you drinking there tonight, buddy?
Tonight I'm drinking a Feist beer from Counterweight Brewing. It is delicious. And if you hear any noise in the background that sounds like purring, it's because I am one step away from being an evil supervillain. I have a cat in my lap.
Ooh, I thought you were just happy to see us.
That too.
That too. You know what that cat would make? An excellent mount for Dollman. Speaking of Dollman, today we're going to be talking about Dollman, an incredibly important character from the way, way back in history. This goes back to this predates Charlton Comics, doesn't it, Mikey? What comic book company was he with?
Quality.
Quality Comics. We're going way back in the archives for this guy.
1939.
1939. My goodness. And the costume does not age well.
Costume aged wonderfully for a guy named Dollman.
Not a bad point.
So
Dollman.
Yeah.
Dollman,
go ahead. I know you love Dollman.
I do love Dollman. I like Dollman for a couple of reasons. First off, he's important historically. He's a fun character, Mike, and he also shows up in some weird ways in different genres, which Josh is going to talk about a little bit later. But first, let's get into the history of Dollman with Mike Manning.
So Dollman, again, created by Will Eisner under a pseudonym, and he makes history as the first shrinking superhero.
That's right. That's pretty important. We didn't have any shrinking superheroes before that, and it'll be a while until Ray Palmer shows up.
Right. So the Atom in DC Comics, at the time National Comics, was just a short dude. Dollman literally reduced his size. Created in 1939, predating the Atom and Ant-Man by 30 years, or 20 years, excuse me. So important as far as that aspect goes, but more importantly, he is just a fun character. So I'm going to throw a shout out to the Digital Comic Museum. If you are a fan, or even if you just want to experience Golden Age madness, go ahead to the Digital Comic Museum, and there are a ton of these old public domain characters, comic books, that are available for you to download and read. And Dollman falls under that, even though he's currently owned by DC Comics. But we'll get into his publication history in a minute. Let's talk about his origin. He's a fucking mad scientist. And when he creates the shrinking formula that reduces him to 6 inches in height, and that is as small as he can get, and he can only go back up to his normal size height. He can't be anywhere in between. It's either 6 inches or nothing.
That's something my wife laments about me all the time.
You are welcome for that setup.
Thank you.
But his adventures, he was in a comic book called Feature Comics, and he was so popular he also got his own comic book. But his own comics were published quarterly, and it was called Dollman. The Feature Comics, he was one of the many features in that comic book. So back in the old Golden Age, you would have 5 or 6 different characters sharing stories in the same comic book. But Dollman quickly became popular and was the headliner. He ended up not being able to survive because by the 1950s, comic books had turned and Dollman was out of vogue, although Dollman wasn't what you would call a traditional superhero. He didn't have a backstory where he wanted to go out and fight crime for this reason or that. He just kind of fought crime because it happened to be in front of him. And he would take on all kinds. Like he could be fighting a supervillain in one issue, and the next issue he is fighting vampires. You know, he just had weird supernatural adventures. He had weird science adventures, and then he had the generic criminal. He also had one of the funnest supporting casts in all of the Golden Age. And I say that only because of his girlfriend, Martha. Why did I say that name? Because his girlfriend was named Martha. And Martha was kind of like Lois Lane, but not quite. Martha was his girlfriend, moved up to the fiancé status, but she was his equal. Like, she was not always pining over him and looking for love from him. And they had a very unique relationship where Dollman just didn't give a shit what she was doing, and she didn't give a shit what he was doing. Like, in one of the comic books that I read, she was like, I'm going out to the opera. And he's like, that sounds fucking boring. Have fun with that, babe. And she's like, well, you just don't have any class. He goes, yeah, you're right. I don't have any class. I'll be sitting here in my comfortable chair, not listening to opera. I'm fine with that. So she goes out and has her own adventure. In fact, she, in some comics, just had her own adventures without even Dollman being there. Eventually, she becomes a superhero. She trains her mind to be able to mentally shrink herself down to doll size. I don't know how that worked, but
it's called a vision board.
Yeah.
So she put on the vision board small things and herself right next to them in direct proportion.
Here's the problem. Why, if you could train your mind to give you a superpower, why do you go with the same lame superpower as your boyfriend?
You know what's amazing about this? Like, he's called Dollman, and every time he appears before a supervillain, they don't question, how did this guy get so fucking small, or am I seeing stuff? They merely accept the fact that there's a man who is 6 inches tall that I want to shoot with a bullet, or I want to stab, or I want to step on. Big mistake, because he maintains his normal strength at that size. And because he's so small, he's very dense. Although apparently he can sit on his girlfriend's shoulder without breaking it. Don't ask me how it works. It's mad science, I tell you. Mad science.
He can ride a dog, but he can also crush you by sitting on you.
Yeah, it's weird shit.
It's just physics.
He has a super pet who's not really a super pet, but he's a great pet. He's a Great Dane named Elmo that Dollman will occasionally ride into battle. At one point, he had the Dollman plane, which was just a fucking toy plane that he would ride in.
It was a remote control plane that he had rigged, and he kept it in his office in plain sight. Double pun intended.
Because he didn't care. He didn't try to disguise the fact of who he was.
Yeah. It's a good point.
He just didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
So, Mike, I'm gonna guess that his girlfriend, when she shrunk, was called Doll Girl.
That is correct.
Okay.
And that will play important later on when we talk about the publishing history. But it's just sticking to the Golden Age. He is like Wonder Woman. If you're into bondage, go ahead and look up Dollman comics, because this little guy was always being tied up to different things.
And this is a little bit of sub-history that I want to go into just a little bit. There wasn't a lot of homosexual erotica to be bought at all anywhere. And the Dollman comics kind of fit that niche a little bit, more than a little bit. There were only really two things you could buy. They were these muscle magazines that were very thinly veiled and disguised homoerotica. and there was a couple of comic books like Dollman, and there was also a one action adventure magazine that always had this very muscular looking guy in terrible situations, about to be killed in some way, and then being saved by his buddy, his true companion.
Yeah, there was one comic where they introduced Doll Girl, and she's tied up on the cover, but when you open up and read the first page, they've reversed it, and it's actually Dollman's tied up, and Doll Girl is rescuing him. Which is also, their relationship is so good. When Martha does decide to become Doll Girl, she's not his sidekick. She's his equal. She's his partner. He just merely accepts her as the partner.
And she really does save him just as often as he saves her.
Yeah, she's not afraid to just knock a dude out.
Yeah.
Martha will cut a bitch and she will punch a dude, not a problem.
No problem.
And Tom, for you, I'm going to recommend you go on to that digital comic museum and find Dollman issue number 24, because the supervillain in that issue is the minstrel, a fucking banjo playing supervillain.
Clap. So there's two. There's Mr. Banjo and the minstrel. We got two. Thank God. I can't wait to share this with my friend Christopher Stanfield, who is the leading expert on banjos in popular culture in the United States. Yeah. And he didn't know about this guy. We talked about Mr. Banjo all the time, but he alluded to another one in the classic. He didn't know what it was. So now we know. Thank you. That's number 24. I'll be looking that up tonight.
Yep. And so Dollman, after Quality Comics goes under, National Comics buys the rights to all those characters, but they don't use them again until the 1970s. And by then, they don't really know what to do with them. So one of the editors at DC Comics realizes, if we don't use these fucking guys, we're gonna lose all rights to them. They're gonna fall into public domain. So they decide to print the Freedom Fighters. They introduce them in a Justice League Justice Society crossover, where they are originally from Earth X. They go back to the World War II history of all these freedom fighters: Phantom Lady, Human Bomb, the Raid, Black Condor, and Uncle Sam. And they say they're on Earth X, a planet where the Nazis won World War II. Later on, it is retconned that no, all the freedom fighters started off on Earth 2. And then when they found out, after they beat the Nazis on their planet and found out that Earth X existed, they all jumped over to Earth X to fight the Nazis over there. And then in their own series, they jumped over to Earth 1. They were wrongfully convicted of a crime, and shenanigans ensued. Dollman, for some reason, couldn't just be the dude who shrinks, because that's pretty boring. They already had the Atom in DC Comics, so they gave him telekinetic powers for no apparent reason. They alluded to the fact that Martha, depending on what comic you're reading, either Martha had died or Martha was still over on Earth X, and the Martha on Earth 1, where they were now, didn't love him. All kinds of garbage like that. He has another appearance later on, after Crisis on Infinite Earths. They redo the Freedom Fighters, and in this, they just mentioned that Dollman exists, Daryl Dane, but there's a new Dollman created by Jimmy Palmiotti, Colt.
Colt, yep.
Yeah, Colt is a government agent, and he's one of many Dollmen who can shrink down in size as part of their identity. And then in the latest version of the Freedom Fighters by Robert Vinatieri, which is a very good series, it's again set on Earth X. Dollman is killed in the first issue, and Doll Girl, his wife Martha, takes up the mantle, and she has gone from being a pacifist, which I assure you she never was in the Golden Age, but in this comic she was a pacifist who now wants to just murder every fucking Nazi she can see. So it's an interesting turn for them. And more importantly in pop culture, Dollman is mentioned And this is a very small spoiler, but it's a spoiler nonetheless.
Tiny little spoiler.
It's a
I know.
6-inch spoiler. Dollman is mentioned by Peacekeeper in his series.
Better Goff dead.
Yeah, he is a superhero who has teamed up with Peacemaker at some point and talked to him about fighting homunculi.
Which is hilarious. I love that Peacemaker likes to drop low-level other heroes like that he's met into conversations, and sometimes just to berate and degrade them, and sometimes to elevate his own standing.
Yes, we're gonna have to do a total Peacekeeper episode later on.
That's got to be coming.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely coming. But I have been rambling on about how much I love Dollman. I'm sure you guys have some of your favorite things that you want to talk about, and then some of your not so favorite things, LT.
Yeah, LT, why don't you start off? Because you just don't like this character.
I just am not crazy about the character. I read the Secret Origins Dollman on DC Infinite, and I was like, okay, I don't understand why he's obsessed with shrinking himself. He doesn't really seem to have a plan for getting back to normal size. He just is obsessed with shrinking himself down for no apparent reason. He just wants to be small and doesn't have a plan, which goes to Mike's theory that he's a mad scientist. And once he does, he really is mad because he beats up his soon-to-be father-in-law and follows his fiancée.
He almost kills. He almost kills his mentor / soon-to-be father-in-law with a hypodermic needle that he throws in a fit of rage because his brain can't take the fact that it's shrunk down to that size. And you think it's going to be like, oh, this guy's now a fucking lunatic, but he slowly calms down, regains composure, and his father-in-law even asks him, are you going to use this power for good or evil? And he thinks about it. He thinks about it and decides, good? Yeah, good. Sure, why not?
It's like, mad science, man. It's all about can I, not should I.
Exactly. Like he's not, his protocol is, oh, I've created this formula. I think it'll work. Let's find out. Glug, 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 tangy, glug, 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 some mental decomposing, glug, 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 some anger issue problems, glug, glug, glug. I shrunk. Success.
So from that moment, I was like, I'm not understanding this guy's like super motivation to become small.
Dude, you're an evil environmental scientist. You should get this guy.
Hey, I'm not evil.
Ugh.
I'm not evil.
I've read your treatise on clubbing baby seals. You ain't good.
Hey, man. They eat a lot of fish. Anyway, and we didn't even talk about
the French
Phantom and Dollman series. Phantom and Dollman series by Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray, which is the one that I kind of liked. And that didn't make sense either because Dollman created like a super suit, a formula to shrink himself, a suit for his kind of girlfriend, and yet like sprung it all on her like after she'd been shot. Like, oh, by the way, I've got all this stuff that I've been working on. I didn't really test it, but it all works. I didn't really test it.
Yeah, you know why? Because he's a fucking mad scientist. That in that version, which is
scientist or bad scientist.
That version is not Daryl Dane. Let's start off by saying that.
Yeah,
and that is from the.
It's Maxwell Dane or something, isn't it? It's still Dane.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's not Lester Colt.
No, Lester
that's
Colt.
Dane Maxwell. That's Dane Maxwell.
Dane Maxwell. I'm sorry.
That's second wave. That's second wave Dane.
Yeah. So I mean, there's been many a Dollman, and I haven't understand the motivation for any of them.
Mad science is the motivation.
Later on in the comics, he leads a doll-sized army to take over the world just because he's gone crazy because he's a mad scientist. It's mad science, man. Just get on board and enjoy. Have a piece of cake. Grab a soda. Fuck. This is a fun comic.
This would be a great character to just keep totally like he is. Like, he just doesn't give a shit about anything.
Yeah.
Like, you want me to go fight a supervillain? All right, I'll fight a supervillain. You want me to go fight a mummy? Sure, I'll fight a mummy.
The
You want me
tiger
to
loose
fight
in the
this
city?
old lady? I'll fuck this old lady up.
Come on, old lady. You want me to
I
try
think
to
I'd like him
lower
better
the price
if you
of
were like,
groceries? I'll give it a shot. I'll shrink
think I'd like
everybody. We'll eat less food. Boom.
I think I'd like him better if you were like teamed up with some muscle-bound jerk who threw him around and took advantage of the fact that he's, a 200-pound, super dense 6-inch guy and threw him
Tommy,
like a
is this-
missile. I think that'd be awesome.
Tommy, are we just
Yeah.
getting into the realm of fantasies here, buddy? Is this something you want to talk about later? I mean,
No, I'm just
It
not seeing
sounds
how
like it.
useful this guy is.
it sounds like homoerotica, Tommy. If that's what you're starting to get into, we can talk about it. I love you,
I'm
bud.
just saying I could see him useful in a fastball special sort of way, but I'm not seeing that.
Fastball special kind of way. All right. With that handover to Josh. Josh, now you loved Dollman in a very different way.
Well, so there's the movie, which is not Dollman at all. It's actually completely unrelated.
Yeah.
It's
But it's
not-
awesome.
I mean, it's a funny movie, and you gotta love Tim Thomerson, and I love B sci-fi, and it's very, very different from the comic, as he's an alien, and they just come from different sized planets, and he crashes on Earth and chasing a villain. And I watched part of it today, and it's fantastically B movie.
Oh, it's so much fun to watch. If you're in the
Very
mood
B
for a
movie.
B movie, that's a B movie.
Yeah,
It really is.
I just watched the preview for that movie, and I feel like I'd seen the movie. Like, I
You
got
pretty
it.
much did. You
Yeah,
got it.
Yeah. If people are looking for it, it's streaming from a couple of services. A couple of them have commercials, but it is free. And if you are searching for it, it's one word, Dollman. If you do 2 words, you're never gonna find it. One word, Dollman. If you want to watch Tim Thomerson rip it up in a B movie where he's a cop from another planet, and he shows up on Earth and he's 13 inches tall, and he takes vengeance on the guy, the escaped criminal from his home world, aided by locals who are trying to fight off the drug gangs that are in their neighborhood.
Oh, that's right. He teams up to stop the drug lords and also save the community center, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
it's basically
It really
just-
is.
Yeah.
Isn't one of their taglines like 13 inches is definitely enough?
Yeah, they
Oh,
they
13 inches is more than enough.
is more than enough. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a kitschy movie. Tim Thomerson's a great guy if you ever get to meet him at a con. Yeah. But I know completely unrelated. I actually haven't really read much of the comics and didn't really know that they were unrelated until Mike was like, "Oh, let's do Dollman," and I had to look some of it up, and I'm like, "Wait, what? It's completely unrelated. This is bullshit. I got nothing to talk about."
I like the fact that Dollman has that second life. And also, if you want to have a fun night, grab yourself a beverage or two and whisper into your Roku, show me Tim Thomerson trailers, and watch like 20 Tim Thomerson trailers, and I guarantee a smile on your face by your second beverage. And there are a lot of them out there, and they're all the same craziness, and they're fun. Doesn't have a lot to do with Dollman, though. I love Dollman from the Freedom Fighters. I love the Freedom Fighters as a kid. I was entranced by those characters. I loved Uncle Sam. I loved the Ray. I loved Phantom Lady. And, of course, I loved Dollman at the time. And they just seemed really cool. They were fighting Nazis. They're beating up bad guys, having a good time. In a new iteration of them, I don't think Dollman's in that one, but, like, Plastic Man was, like, one of the main big baddies. That was crazy fun. And that's how I first started enjoying Dollman.
Yeah, when we were kids, there weren't Batman was on issue 300 or 400, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Wonder Woman was in the 200s or 300s range, right? There's nothing new where you could be like, oh, I've been collecting this since the beginning. Freedom Fighters, I picked up on issue 4. And then I was hunting for these issues to try to finish this collection, and it took me a while to do it because I'm going to yard sales and stuff. These comics are not expensive by any means.
Grandpa,
but
what
just
was the
trying to
world like before
find-
eBay?
Yeah, just trying to find the shit was tough. But I do have all of the original Freedom Fighters. I'm very proud of that.
You have some pretty good completist collections. Freedom Fighters is a great one. Not to brag, but once again, I do have all of the Midwest
Great Lakes Avengers.
Great Lakes Avengers. I have all of those, and the Midwest Initiative. Every comic book that the Midwest Initiative shows up in, I have. Part of that.
I'm going to warn some people, if you want to go onto eBay to buy some Golden Age Dollman comics, you can. However, beware that Quality Comics folded and some other publishers published reprints of Dollman in the 50s and 60s. So you might be thinking, oh my God, Dollman number 27, this is going to be worth a fortune. How is it only $15? Well, it's $15 because it's a reprint from the 60s, probably.
That's a great point. I actually, I won't say I fell for that, but I did buy some of those comic books that were reprints, mostly because in the time I bought them, it was hard to find them. You couldn't find them digitally. And I had never read, I think it was a Phantom Lady. I got a reprint of a Phantom Lady. I'm like, oh, wow. No, Night Nurse. I'm like, oh, I got a reprint, but, it's cool. I think I paid like $5 for it, which was a lot at the time. And when I found out it was a reprint, I found out it was a reprint before I bought it, but I still pulled the trigger because I just never got my hands on this. This isn't the New Night Nurse, which was the romance novel. This is way back in the day, at the same time of Phantom Lady. There was another night nurse, and she was very cool.
Phantom Lady, oh my God, those covers.
Oh my
Golden
goodness.
Age?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could totally spank to that.
Absolutely. A lot of those.
Yeah.
That's what they were for, Mike.
Yeah. Even her costume in the Freedom Fighters. That's why I love the Freedom Fighters. It's for Phantom Lady.
Was that Grell? Was Grell doing that?
No, he wasn't. But good God, he should have been because her neckline was as plunging as Princess Projectra's in Dawn Stars.
That is the weirdest analogy ever, but it totally pans out perfectly. Any last words on Dollman? A+ in my book.
I can't wait to see him in a future episode of Peacemaker.
Oh, that would be so good. Tommy, did we bring you over a little bit?
I still don't understand his motivation for becoming small.
He's a scientist. It's why did they make more dinosaurs after Jurassic Park?
I love
dinosaurs.
Wanted to try dinosaur barbecue?
That's not why. Because it's all about
why.
can I, not about should I. Joshua,
No.
you read a couple.
No, there was a scientist in there that was like, I wonder what this will taste like with some Kansas City barbecue sauce.
Kansas City
He wasn't
barbecue
telling
sauce.
anybody else that motivation, but that's what he was thinking.
He wasn't thinking it. Joshua, are you going to go back, maybe try a couple of the old ones as the Golden Age just for fun?
I'm happy to take a look, but honestly, it's the worst power ever.
Shrinking?
No.
Right
Death
on,
Touch
Josh.
is the worst superpower ever.
What's that?
Death Touch.
Depends on what you want to do.
Depends on your motivation. I'm just saying, of all the power sets of heroes or superhero comics, if someone was like, okay, here's the deal. You can shrink down and be 6 inches tall. Okay, all right. You can retain your own strength. All right. Okay.
Okay. All right. Keep going.
Now that's it.
What?
That's it?
What? What
So
are you talking about?
I get 6 inches tall, and I'm as strong as I don't
Do I get my own seamstress? Because I can't buy shit off the rack.
Yeah,
What?
you can. You just have to go to the doll section.
Yeah, and it sucks.
Sure.
Have you seen the stuff they make for dolls? It sucks.
Now,
All right,
yeah.
let me ask
go to Etsy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Josh. You remember Tiny the Terrible, right?
I'm not saying it doesn't have its promotional features. I'm just saying, as a superpower set, if you were to roll sort of like a gambit of superpowers and put them before me, and that was one of them, it's probably coming in dead last.
All right, but you remember Tiny the Terrible, how strong he was.
I get that.
It was cool. We had this friend who was
A small person.
a small person, and he was about 2.5, 3.5 feet tall.
He wasn't that. 2.5 feet tall is no. You don't know how height works.
I guess I don't. My wife is a little bit. He was way shorter than my wife, so
Tiny
maybe
was probably 4 feet. I'd bet.
so maybe 4 feet. But he was way stronger than either Josh or I. He could easily carry a ring post on one shoulder and all the ring ropes like underneath the other shoulder, underneath the other arm, just kind of walk around. He was just a bull of a human, and I would not have fought that guy.
But I could also work out and be stronger and not be 6 inches tall.
All
You
right.
see,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if there was the gambit of superpowers, I mean, go ahead and sprinkle a random selection of superpowers in front of me. This is not one I'm picking.
You can taste colors.
I'll take it.
Oh yeah, well, it was a color kid who could change the color of objects.
Yep.
That was his only power.
You know what? I could make $1 million a year as an interior decorator with that power.
Yeah.
Bleep.
Don't
That
worry,
that
you're
would be
able
so
to
useful.
turn yourself into stone.
Okay,
But
Stone
you
Boy's
are
power.
not aware of anything going around you while you're
Or how long time is passing.
His power also sucked.
Pretty
I'm not
sucky.
gonna lie. That's not a that's borderline curse instead of power.
Our fall off boy.
But no, that's come on. I'm just saying.
Come on, man, have fun.
Come on. Yeah.
All right, the last word on that is I think some of us liked it, some of us didn't like it, but he is important in the great grand scheme of things, and Dollman's place in history is secured. He needs none of us really to defend him because he will always be one of the big ones when it comes to well, maybe not one of the big ones, but at least a barrier breaker when it comes to comic books and superpowers. Mikey, what do you got at the front of the long box for us, then, buddy?
at the front of the long box. I have the Freedom Fighters, the 2018-2019 series by Robert Venditti. It is, again, the Freedom Fighters are on Earth X in this scenario. The Nazis take over the U.S. in the 70s or 80s, and this is set 20 years after that happens. So pretty much when the Freedom Fighters would have left for Earth 1, instead they end up being captured and killed. And because of the public execution of the resistance leader, Jesse Owens, who was public enemy number 1, and the rest of the Freedom Fighters, the spirit of America dies, and Uncle Sam dies with it. And in order for the new Freedom Fighters to beat the Nazis and get them out of the U.S., they have to inspire the American spirit in all of its citizens in order to resurrect Uncle Sam. And they do that. It's a great series. It has everything you want in it. It's 12 issues, so it's a fairly easy read. I'm sure you can go on to go find the graphic novels. It's probably, if it was 12 issues, you're probably looking at 2 graphic novels, maybe.
Like, I remember this. This was 5 years ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there was an election where the spirit of America died. I remember it very distinctly.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah, it's horrible how the Nazis won.
I remember that issue.
The Nazis won, and then there was like a terrible plague. And
I read it for 4 years.
the sequel's not doing that great either.
No.
So yeah, that's the front of the long box. And I do want to point out that next week we are doing Stumptown. So if you want to participate in our Stumptown episode, please go over to @the Longbox Guys on Twitter, send us a tweet, or go ahead and send us an email at luckybastard@thelongboxguys.com. Say, I want to be part of the Long Guys Book Club, and come on and talk to us about Volume 1 of Stumptown by Greg Rucka.
I'm having a great time rereading this. I forgot how good this one was.
I'm just plowing into the series. I went through Volume 1 and I was like, I'm just going to keep on going.
Keep on. When you're going through hell, keep on going.
Yeah.
That chick can take a punch. And a knock to the back of the head with a... She gets hit with a gun butt a lot. Is that like...
A lot.
Like, is that really used as a weapon that often?
In Portland,
hits to the head.
Portland, it seems to be like it goes like shoot someone, stab someone. No, shoot someone, pretend to stab someone, just smack them with the gun until they give up.
Kind of.
But that's next week.
But that's next week.
Next week.
Tommy, what do you have at the back of the long box, my brother?
I have Meet the Skrulls by Robbie Thompson, Nico Henriken, and Marcos Martin.
My favorite part of the podcast.
This is a graphic novel about a family of Skrulls trying to pass themselves off as people, trying to collect information for the next invasion of Earth. One of them works in Tony Stark's company. One of them works for a senator. And the two girls are going to high school. And they're trying to get information from everybody they can so they can take over the world. And it's a great little series. And it's got some twists. It's got some turns. It's pretty good. I enjoyed it. It's like 5 issues, about 112 pages, and it's just an enjoyable romp, if you will. Yes,
that would be the perfect series if in every comic book there's just 1 page, 6 panels of cows in a field. With no
there's
apparent
no
reason for
cows in
that
a
being
field.
in there, because I would enjoy the shit out of it. I would understand that those are the Skrull cows just hanging out, not realizing they're Skrulls because they were hypnotized by Reed Richards, because Reed Richards is a Class A dick.
Speaking of mad scientists, if you have a machine just lying around that hypnotizes cows, that's creepy.
It doesn't just hypnotize cows.
You were planning something.
Specializes in hypnotizing cows.
You were planning something creepy. Something like Jeff Epstein would be like, nah, dog, nah. Not on my compound. Too soon?
Calmer cows make calmer butter.
Sorry, I went off a little tangent there. Josh, what do you got for a tangent for us today, buddy?
I was trying to think of a tangent today, and I was thinking of Peacekeeper. And I know we're gonna have to dig into this this TV series, and I did not get to talk about it. I'm sure all you guys gushed about it in the Geek League, and I did not get to. So, and I feel like I'm running out of really entertaining shows. So I think I need to rally the Longbox folks out in the world here and you guys, and I need a series to step into. And I mean, definitely, I mean, I watched the first 3 episodes of Peacekeeper, and I've not enjoyed TV that much in a while. It was
the opening dance number was just magical.
I was really hoping they were gonna mix that up through the episodes, but we'll see. So anyway, spoilers if we happen to talk about Peacekeeper. If you haven't seen Peacekeeper, go watch 3 episodes of Peacekeeper. It's fantastic. And Jesus fucking Christ, I want to be hugged by an eagle.
I thought for sure you were going to talk about why the helmet gave you scabies. And better than helmet, this one gives you scabies. Why? Test yourself. Everybody should have scabies, man. Test yourself. Jesus Christ.
So, Josh, I'm going to refer you to a show on HBO Max called Warrior. It is...
Is that the Asian guy comes to America, Chinese guy comes to America?
Yes.
I've seen a couple episodes. I gave it the 3, and I was teetering.
Oh, okay.
But if it gets better, if there are more seasons and it gets better, let me know.
It comes highly recommended by who'snextgaming.com. The one of the guys over there says it's his favorite TV show ever, next to The Watchmen, and he's actually a legit martial artist. So he says the fights choreography in the series is amazing.
I did like the choreography. I just, there was something not drawing me in to the series, but I'll give it another look. I'll give it 4 through 6.
All right, good. Let me know how it is because I haven't seen it yet.
Let me ask you this, Josh. How many episodes of Barney Miller have you watched?
I mean, in my life,
Yes.
I mean, it was intermittent when I was a kid. I don't remember. Like, honestly, I don't know.
Give it 3.
I mean, I've
Give
watched
it-
more than 3 episodes of Barney Miller in my life. I'm just saying.
Give them 3 in a row. We're building a story.
I'll go back to the well and see if Barney Miller holds up.
I mentioned Barney. I mean, I would also like to say, like, Welcome Back, Kotter. There's a couple of great ones back there that were kind of dumb.
Tried to rewatch Welcome Back, Kotter, and it was a no-go for me.
I haven't tried that one yet. Barney Miller is on YouTube. And
Barney Miller will hold up.
Yeah, Barney Miller, the writing's still pretty good. There's some really interesting little bits of gay rights that show up. We see our first gay cop, openly gay cop, is in there on television. Our first gay couple, who's not just a joke, is in there because originally they were a joke and they got letters and they turned them around. They said, you know what, you're right. We'll make these characters more three-dimensional. There's a lot of really interesting things that happen on Barney Miller.
Okay.
Plus, you get to see Shepard Book. You know where he learned all those things about criminals? Barney Miller. He was a detective on a 70s show, and Shepard Book doesn't like to talk about it, but he time traveled. Someday you're going to tell me how you know so much about criminals. No, I'm not. Because I can't talk about time travel.
Josh, have you seen the Eternals? Because I don't think that's what you're looking for.
I did, and it is not.
I'd rather watch the Externals.
We are going to do the
Definitely
Eternals
not.
podcast, by the way, on the movie. So anybody with Disney Plus, if you want to follow along, go ahead and
Start
watch
watching
the
it now.
Eternals. It'll feel like it's 2 weeks anyways, but the week after Stumptown, we're going to do our Eternals review.
So, Josh, have you seen Super Crooks?
I just watched 2 episodes of Super Crooks. I'm gonna give it the 3rd. I like the style. We'll see how it goes. But it is pretty decent so far. I like it.
Okay.
What platform's it on?
It's on Netflix.
Netflix, okay. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
I think Super Crooks is what I'm gonna say you might enjoy a little bit.
Okay.
I got giddy while I was watching stupid Peacemaker, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the 80s little thing that they had, the throwback where it was the bands, the hair bands, the gender fluid bands, and how he was getting into it. And the sex scene, by the way, was about as explicit as anything I've ever seen on, like, just normal TV.
So to stop you from talking more about Peacemaker, because again, we're going to do a podcast on that later on.
Yeah.
You're right.
Let's mention Josh talked about the Geek Leak. If you're wondering what the Geek Leak is, go ahead over to www.patreon.com/the Longbox and become one of our Patreon supporters, where for a mere $1 a month, you can get an extra podcast almost every week, or it's definitely every week we do a podcast. Sometimes we do the Geek Leak and we don't actually do a free podcast because those guys pay us. But actually, they don't pay us.
Yeah.
All the money we make goes to Elizabeth Peabody Food Bank to help feed people who could really use a hand up.
That is correct. They really do enjoy our patronage, and they do a lot of good work over there. They do. God.
So if anybody's listening, write into Lucky Bastard at the Longbox Guys, or if you're one of our Patreon patrons, go ahead and post something on the Patreon wall. And if there's something I should watch out there, you should let me know.
You've seen all the middlemen, right?
Yes.
That's too bad there were more of those. And Mikey, brother, you don't have to say WWW anymore. We're past that.
I don't know if you're aware. I'm an old man.
I know. We know. I'm an old man too, and I finally got rid of it. Like I think about 5 years ago, lady like just stopped me on the second W. It's like, Tom, you don't have to say that anymore. We all know what that is. We're good. So the www no longer necessary. Just patreon.com is fine. Just so we know.
Look, we just got them to stop saying World Wide Web a year ago.
Yes.
Baby
Slow
steps, man.
changes.
Baby steps.
Tommy, you want to pull out your flip phone and tell us more?
Sure.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm surprised you didn't have a BlackBerry that went dead this week, buddy.
Well, with flexible screens, flip phones are back.
Flip phones are coming
Flip
back.
phones are
actually,
coming back.
Also, if you go over to USPS.com,
that killed you.
Go to the Quick Tools. You can order 4 free at-home COVID-19 test kits that they will ship to you for free.
They will.
Nice. All right, I guess that brings us to plugs, people.
Go to USPS.com, Quick Tools, and get the free COVID testing.
Yeah. Also, check us out on our Twitter page. We always have a lot of fun over there. And it's good. Twitter, the Longbox Guys.
Yeah. Also, go to USPS.com and hold your mail while you're away, because it's easy and it's helpful. Instead of making that poor guy slough all that shit and jam it into your mailbox, and then it looks like you're not home because shit piles up. Just fucking hold your mail. It's not hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a dog in this fight, man? Were you a postman in your last life, man? What's up?
Oh, I don't know. It just seems like the nice thing to do.
Hey, and if you're the delivery driver for Freshly who keeps on dropping my shit off at the neighbor's house 2 doors down, look at the fucking address.
Yeah. Read a number.
Read a number.
It's on the fucking house. It's not a mystery to be solved here, people.
Actually, you know what? I'm
not the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop you right there because the food bank actually gets a shit ton of food lately from people who got the wrong delivery of Freshly and of Whole Foods. I get like 2 a week, and it's some good stuff. So stop reading those addresses. Be a little more laissez-faire. Come on, man. Yeah. Help a brother out.
You know who's not laissez-faire? Kirby Crackle.
Oh, yeah, that guy's always working.
KirbyCracklemusic.com. Check out their music. They provide all the music for our podcast. If you're listening to this on YouTube and like, what music are they talking about? I'm a lazy producer, so I don't do shit for the YouTube channel, which I should, but I'm old and I still use www, so give me a fucking break as if I know how to edit videos. But on our podcast, I actually put in music, and they provide our music, geek rock music every week.
All right.
I'd like to plug GeekOrthodox.com.
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 Hello, Timmy.
GeekOrthodox.com, purveyor of fine t-shirts and other geeky things such as stained glass prints, Johnny Skywalker rocks glasses, t-shirts, baseball hats, socks, you name it, they got it. GeekOrthodox.com. Go over there and get all the geeky things you want. Get all the geeky things you need. GeekOrthodox.com.
And maybe we'll be seeing them soon. When's Pentagon coming up? That's
as of the recording of this podcast, it is 30 days, 17 hours, 1 minute, and 41 seconds away.
Ooh.
So what are the dates? That would probably be better, Josh.
Yeah, it's probably easier. But whatever. It is February. Yeah, they don't put it on the front of their website. Who knew? February 18th to the 20th.
February 18th to the 20th. All right.
2022.
What that? Too sexy.
Some folks are worried because the state of Florida does not allow institutions to check for vaccination status. So I'm sure Pentagon is going to do everything to keep everyone safe, but there are certain limitations that have been put on them by the state of Florida. So we're all going to go, and hopefully we will stay as safe as possible.
I lived through it last year. You guys can too.
Bro, it's going to be amazing. We're doing an old school X-Men and the
Oh, it's gonna be
Tracksuit
awesome, bro.
Mafia.
Oh yeah.
Bro, it's gonna be so
It'll be
good,
great, bro.
Yeah, bro. I don't know what you're talking about, bro, man. It's gonna be
Oh.
awesome, bro.
Bro, sweet hat, bro.
Thanks, bro.
Tommy, we're more broing it up for you. You got your
Oh,
tracksuit,
bro. I ordered my tracksuit, bro.
Yeah, I hope
Nice.
it gets here in time, bro, man. That shit is shipping slow, bro.
Yeah, no shit. I
Oh.
talked to our good buddy Remy today, and he's like, I was like, hey, you gonna join us for the Tracksuit Mafia? He's like, yeah, red tracksuit. And I was like, dude, burgundy. Come on, have some
Burgundy,
fucking
yeah.
class.
Burgundy,
What the fuck's wrong with you, bro?
You
Let's
can
get the
choose.
kingpin down to the docks and shake those. Shake
Oh,
those
you know what
boats
he
up,
should do?
make sure
Just
we
a
get
white suit with a Hawaiian shirt.
He's our kingpin, bro.
He can be the kingpin, bro. You look good, bro. Yeah, he's got
Totally,
the head.
bro. Yeah,
Yeah.
got the
Bro.
head, got the
Yeah.
shiny head going.
We got to
He's
put a
got that
couple
all
pounds
going
on
on,
him.
bro.
Yeah, be awesome, bro.
He's got those dead eyes that look like they've seen way too much. Absolutely.
Yeah, the dead eyes that seen way too much when they ripped the fucking thing off my wall. God
Yeah.
damn it, Remy. What the fuck?
For those not in the know, Josh had a can crusher, and Remy just, instead of
Crushed
just
it.
pulling down
Oh.
in a crushing motion, he just kind of rips it out of the wall and handed it to Josh like, I think it's broken.
You know how that shit works, bro?
Thanks, man. Go pet the rabbit, Lenny. Shit. Sorry, it's too much. It's too much.
I'd also
Might
like
be
to
a little
plug
too
the
far,
boys
bro.
over at who'snextgaming.com. I can't wait to hear their podcast that they did at the New Orleans Comic Con. Or, sorry, New Orleans Fan Fest.
Wow, it's been a while since we went to that one. That was used to be one of our touchstones too, but when COVID hit, that kind of fell off, and when Mike moved.
Oh, yeah, it's all my fault.
Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty
bro.
much.
Yeah.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
All
Well, true, bro.
right. I guess that'll do it for us today, guys. Mikey,
Yeah.
what's this podcast like to you?
It's like Drunk History, but for comics.
Nice. Tommy, sweet Tommy. Any last words for us, buddy?
Oh man, if you haven't gotten a shot, you should get a shot, bro. I got 3 shots. I'm hoping I can get a top off before I go, bro.
Are you gonna make a cocktail?
I'm like, hey man, give me a top off.
Josh, cocktail bar, is that your sector?
Nope.
Nope, you'd rather go to a brewery. And don't forget what I always say, don't diss what you hate, just promote what you love. You're gonna live longer. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.